You must be wondering how other kids are getting fluent in other languages and your kiddo is just not. I'm going to give you real life examples of how kiddos are using language right away and why your kiddo is still stuck and how we can change that. Hi, I'm Juliana. I love getting kiddos fluent in another language. I was raised monolingual, failed Spanish at 14, and then I taught myself Spanish, French, and Italian to fluency. And now I can learn another language without any fear, without being nervous. I know exactly what to do to get conversational in another language quickly. And it is not what you've been told before. Okay, so here's a real life example. I was taking a memory test. They were testing my memory. And so we had I was given two different tests, and it made me, it was a light bulb moment for me. Okay. So first I want to tell you about that experience of the memory test and how this proves how our methodology of teaching kiddos to speak another language through our methodology with books, with stories, with comics, chapter books, why that is always going to be proven a more effective way, a more enjoyable way, and how kids will actually start using the language like immediately versus what you've heard before or the old traditional way, which I'm sure all of you have had that experience. Okay. I used to teach in public and private schools, and I had to teach that traditional way, and it was awful. It was awful. It was awful for me as the teacher, and it was awful for the kids, and no one became fluent that way, and most of them dropped out. Okay. So let's just back up. Today, I was teaching 5-year-olds, like not 5-year-olds, 5th graders, 10-year-olds. Okay, this is, if you're looking at this and you're not in America, you know what 5th grade is. 10-year-olds. Okay. So what we did in class today was we were reading we were reviewing our chapters 1 through 5 in The Word Thief, which is a chapter book that I write for kiddos to become fluent. So we do languages through reading comprehensible, easy to understand books. Okay, we don't talk about grammar. This was the most amazing thing that happened. So today we had them, I broke them up into groups, and I assigned them a chapter. I said, listen, you have 8 minutes to prepare. I need someone that's going to read the Spanish. I need an actor, and I need an English. So this is a way for me to assess their comprehension, right? First of all, can you read the Spanish well enough that I can understand what you're saying? Okay. Can the actor comprehend and understand what they're saying and act it out? So they're doing this in front of the class. So the kids are interacting, right? They're observing and they're absorbing the language. We're not talking at all about grammar. I don't mention grammar at all, right? I'll do another video for that, but something really cool happened today too about that, grammar without teaching grammar. Okay, so you have the Spanish person, Spanish speaker, the one that reads from the book, the actor, and then the English. So it was so amazing. So I said, listen, group 1, you have chapter 1. Choose 5 sentences and you need to act them out. Spanish, actor, and then this English. Okay? So I did that, and I had 5 different teams. It was incredible. These 10-year-olds come up. They are reading full Spanish right away. So I write these books that are understandable at their level. It's interesting. So what they do is now they go up and read their little story. So they do like 1 sentence in Spanish, and then they act it out, and then they have the English. So this is a way for me to quiz them. But what's so amazing about this is that the kid is using Spanish right away. Like they're actually using language today. They're producing language. And when you think about this, when you can produce and speak in that language and it's understood, that confidence boost is the biggest thing is that going to have them continue going forward with this. Versus in the olden days, this was me 6.5 years ago when I was teaching in public and private schools. I would still try not to teach the traditional ways through packets and stuff like that. But before, it would usually be like, okay, I'm going to teach you all these grammar rules. Let's spend so much time memorizing these grammar rules, and then maybe we'll do a play like I did today. We did the play. I was like, all right, actors, we're going. Scene 1, chapter 1. And it was amazing. Okay. So why did this work so well? because the kids are learning and associating language in a full story. We're not breaking up the language. And this is where I'm going to get to the story about the memory test, which was fascinating. So they are immersed in the story. They understand the story. The grammar is in the story. So for them to look at a full chapter in Spanish, they can tell me everything that's being said in that chapter. And they can read it in Spanish. That, my friend, is communication. Now they can speak, and now I ask them questions. So they've read the chapter, then I can ask them personal questions related to that chapter, and then there's the conversation. Bingo. That's why I say we can get kiddos speaking fast. Okay, now what doesn't work? And here's my personal story. What doesn't work is when you take a little random list of words. I'm going to go back, 9th grade Spanish. Let's do the unit on, so boring. Chores unit, okay? We had to teach them like 15, 20 different verbs that had to do with chores. Take out the laundry, or take out the trash, wash the clothes, vacuum. It's coming in Spanish. That's why it's like, this happens when you got a lot going on up there. So you have a list of all the actions for chores, okay? 15 of them. We'd present it, say, memorize this list, okay? Memorize this list. We have a quiz tomorrow. Sometimes Spanish teachers would do matching, so you don't have to worry about the spelling, but sometimes you had to memorize the spelling of all those 20 different words, and you were corrected on the spelling. It's crazy. So think about that experience versus what I just told you about, what I did with the Spanish kids today with the play. Play, which was review from our chapter book that we were reading. Okay, you got the setup here? Here's the memory test. Ready? There it is. So I'm sitting there in a memory test, and the doctor says, I am going to list off a list. I'm going to list off 20 words. I need you to repeat it back to me. Okay? It was like this. I can't even remember. He would say things, and he wouldn't stop. He was like, motorcycle, green, giraffe, lettuce, tree, bicycle, yellow, green. Okay? He would do a list of 20, and he says, okay, repeat back what I just said. Okay. Can you imagine? I was working so hard to remember that list because I wanted to do well on the memory test. Awful. So that was the first one. Then he's like, he gave me a new category, 10, 20 different words or whatever. He says, repeat exactly what I say. And it didn't have to be in the order, but it had to be at least all the words. So he's like, okay, well, you missed, out of the 20 words, you missed half of them. So in my brain, I'm working so hard to remember the words and not worrying about that's what I was focusing so much on memorizing. Okay, second test. This is why I'm just giving you an idea. This is why language learning through stories is always going to be better than just learning a list of vocabulary words. And I will continue saying this. You're going to see this on this channel all the time. Okay, this is why I developed a whole book series in 9 different languages. We have them translated in 9 different languages because I want kids to become fluent. Okay, so the second story, the second test. Okay, he goes, I'm going to tell you a story. I can tell you it right now. This test was done 4 years ago. He says, I'm going to tell you a story, and I want you to tell me back what I said. I want you to repeat what the story was. So the story was something like, there is this widow mother, and she has to get another job because she doesn't have enough money to bring in for her child, and the child is very sad because the mother's not around. And then the mother finds another job, and they live in Pennsylvania, and they have a red house. Okay, do you understand? Why does this work? When you put language in a story, I'm connected. My brain starts imagining this boy, this troubled mother living in Pennsylvania, this red house. I'm connected. And I also, he's giving me language. The boy lives in a house. The mother is sad. So now I'm seeing language naturally in its natural habitat without having to memorize the rules of, wait, how do I conjugate that verb? Wait, do I have to put an A? for that. And this is just for Spanish, but there's languages that don't have any of the genders and stuff like that. Do you see the point? So when I did that memory test, when he told me just to recite back a bunch of random words, I'm talking random, giraffe, motorcycle, blue, lettuce, to test my memory. That's why memory, you don't have to memorize language. You don't have to memorize language. You just have to do it smarter. You need to have it in a book. You have to have it in context. Your brain loves imagining things, loves making connections. But when you do a list of vocabulary words, there's no wonder why you're frustrated and your kid is not speaking another language, period. That's why I am on a mission to reduce the amount of time that it takes for your kid to study a language and maximize the amount of languages that they speak. Yes. Okay. If you want to get one of our comics, actually all of our comics, excuse me, I think I have all of our comics right now, all 9 as of when we're recording right now. I'm sure there'll probably be a couple more languages by the time that you see this, but I want your kiddo to have an instant win. So in the description, first follow along so that we can continue communicating. Otherwise, I'll be lost in YouTube forever. So subscribe, and go down to the description, and there should be a link there for our comic freebies. It's going to give you access into the first couple of freebies in all of the languages, and all of the freebies comics have audio. So try it out. I also have my email there. So like if it works for you and you love it, like I want to hear about it. Okay. Let's get more kids fluent in another language. Let's go. All right. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.